You ever have one of those days where the universe just feels like it's screwing with you for sport? Yeah, that was my Tuesday. Name's Amelia Brooks. I'm 34 years old, Black, and just trying to make it through the week without losing my mind or my temper. Spoiler, I failed. But let me start at the beginning. It was raining, that kind of nasty sideways rain that soaks your socks no matter how good your boots are. I was on my way home from another shift at this dead-end temp job that barely pays the bills. It's not glamorous, but hey, it keeps the lights on, mostly. Anyway, I decided to swing by the local grocery store for some essentials. Milk, bread, maybe something that didn't scream, "Eat me and feel sad." Walking into that store, I knew the vibe was off. You know how some places just reek of judgment? Like the fluorescent lights aren't just showing off the wrinkles under your eyes, they're accusing you of not belonging? That's how this place felt. And the stairs. Oh God, the stairs. I was minding my own business in the bread aisle, doing that thing where you compare prices like you're solving a calculus problem because inflation is a bitch. That's when I felt it. A pair of eyes boring into me. And not just any eyes. These were cop eyes. You know the kind. Laser focused. Like they've already decided you're guilty of something. I glanced over my shoulder and there he was. Officer I've Got Issues, aka Thomas Green. White guy, mid-40s, with a chip on his shoulder so big you could build a house on it. "Ma'am," he said, striding toward me like he owned the damn store. His tone was so condescending I could feel my blood pressure spike. "Can I see what's in your bag?" Now, I'm not one to go looking for a fight, but seriously? My bag? I hadn't even made it to the checkout line. Hell, I hadn't even decided which loaf of bread I was buying. "Excuse me?" I said, clutching my bag like it was a lifeline. "I'm just shopping. You can't do that." "Oh, I can," he said, with that smug little smirk that only comes with a badge and an ego problem. "You looked suspicious." Suspicious. Right. Because nothing screams criminal mastermind like a black woman in a rain-soaked hoodie holding a loaf of Wonder Bread. I should have walked away. I should have kept my head down and avoided the drama. But you know what? I'd had it. I was done shrinking myself to make other people comfortable. "I look suspicious?" I asked, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "What's next? You gonna arrest me for picking the wrong brand of peanut butter?" A couple of shoppers stopped to gawk. You could see the phones coming out. People love a good train wreck. Officer Green, though? He wasn't backing down. "Don't get smart with me," he said, stepping closer. "Show me your bag, or we're going to have a problem." "We already have a problem," I shot back. "And it's you." That was it. That was all it took. He grabbed my arm, twisting it behind my back, before I could even register what was happening. The bread fell to the floor, and I was suddenly face first against a shelf of canned soup. "Are you serious right now?" I yelled, my voice echoing through the store. "I didn't do anything." "Stop resisting," he barked, as if I'd been doing anything other than existing in his line of sight. The store manager showed up looking like he wanted to melt into the floor. Officer Green," he said, wringing his hands. "Maybe this isn't—" "Stay out of it," Green snapped, dragging me toward the front of the store. By now, half the store was watching. Some people were filming, others whispering. A few looked like they wanted to help but didn't have the guts. Typical. As Green shoved me out into the rain, I caught sight of my reflection in the store window. My hair was a mess. My face was flushed, and my eyes, oh, my eyes were burning with pure, unfiltered rage. He threw me into the back of his patrol car like I was some kind of dangerous fugitive. The irony was almost laughable. Almost. As the car pulled away, I glanced at the people standing in the rain, watching it all go down. Some looked outraged, others curious, but most of them just looked helpless. And me? I was pissed. Pissed and determined. Because one thing was clear. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. So there I was, sitting in the back of this busted-ass patrol car, rain smearing the windows like some low-budget crime drama. Except this wasn't TV, and I sure as hell wasn't the criminal. My wrists were cuffed, my dignity was in shreds. And Officer Green? Oh, he was riding high on a power trip like he just won the damn lottery. The ride to the station was silent, but not the kind of peaceful silence. No, this was the kind of silence where you could hear your pulse pounding in your ears, where every bump in the road felt like it was jolting your soul. My mind was racing. Not because I was scared. Nah. Scared left the building when this fool decided to get rough in a grocery store. I was mad. Furious. But I was also calculating. You don't survive the shit I've been through without learning how to stay 2 steps ahead. By the time we pulled up to the station, the rain had turned into a full-blown storm. Fitting, right? A storm for a storm. Green yanked me out of the car like he was auditioning for a cop movie. Real dramatic, like anyone was impressed. "Let's go," he barked, dragging me toward the entrance. Yeah, I'm coming, I said, rolling my eyes. You don't have to manhandle me. I'm not going to make a run for it in these cuffs, genius. He didn't even flinch, just shoved me through the door like I was some kind of violent threat. The station was a mix of chaos and monotony. Phones ringing, cops typing on computers, the occasional muttered curse word. It smelled like stale coffee and bad decisions. Green dumped me in a chair near the booking desk, still playing up the tough guy routine. A younger officer, probably fresh out of training judging by the babyface, looked up from his paperwork. What's the charge?" Babyface asked, his eyes darting between me and Green like he wasn't sure who the real problem was. "Attempted theft," Green said, puffing out his chest. "Caught her red-handed." I laughed. Couldn't help it. The absurdity of the situation was just too much. Red-handed? Seriously? What was I stealing, Officer Drama Queen? A loaf of bread? Babyface blinked, clearly uncomfortable. Do you have any evidence of that?" Green's jaw tightened. "She was acting suspicious." "Oh, well, that clears everything up," I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "Suspicious. The ultimate crime." Babyface looked like he wanted to crawl under the desk. "Maybe we should, process this carefully. You know, follow protocol." "Protocol?" Green sneered. "I am the protocol." And there it was. The ego. The superiority complex. The absolute conviction that his badge made him untouchable. I'd seen it before. Hell, I'd dealt with worse. But this? This was just embarrassing. For him. As Green stomped off to do whatever it is guys like him do when they're not harassing innocent people, I leaned back in the chair, letting my eyes scan the room. The tension in the air was thick, like everyone knew something was off but didn't have the guts to call it out. I made a mental note of every face, every nameplate, every detail. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that information is power. And baby, I was stockpiling it. About an hour later, Green stormed back with a folder in hand, looking like he was ready to declare me public enemy number 1. But before he could open his mouth, the station's door slammed open, and in walked Captain Owen Harper. Now, let me tell you about Captain Harper. Mid-50s, grizzled, with the kind of presence that makes people stand up straighter when he enters a room. He had a reputation, fair but firm, the kind of guy who didn't put up with bullshit. And judging by the look on his face, he smelled bullshit all over this situation. "Green," Harper said, his voice cutting through the room like a knife. "A word, now." Green's smugness faltered. Captain, I was just... Now, Green?" "Oof, you love to see it." Green slunk off behind Harper like a kid caught with his hand in the cookie jar, leaving me alone with Babyface. He glanced at me, then quickly looked away, clearly not wanting to get involved. Smart move, kid. A few minutes later, Harper came back out, his expression unreadable. Green trailed behind him, looking like he'd just been chewed out and spit back out. Harper walked straight up to me, arms crossed. "Miss Brooks," he said, his tone firm, but not unkind. "I've reviewed the situation, and it appears there's a lack of evidence to justify your arrest." "You don't say," I replied, raising an eyebrow. "Does that mean I can go, or are we playing another round of who can waste the most time?" Harper's lips twitched, like he was trying not to smile. "You're free to go. My apologies for the inconvenience." Inconvenience. That was cute. Green opened his mouth, probably to argue, but Harper shut him down with a single look. Oh, it was beautiful. Poetry in motion. As I stood up, Babyface handed me my bag, mumbling something about being sorry. I gave him a tight smile and turned to Harper. "Thanks, Captain," I said, "but you might want to keep an eye on your boy here. Seems like he's got a bit of a hero complex." Harper nodded, his eyes flicking to Green. "Noted." And with that, I walked out into the storm, drenched but not defeated. Because here's the thing, Green thought he'd won. He thought he could flex his badge and make this go away. But he didn't know who he was dealing with. Not yet. I thought walking out of that station would give me peace, but nope. Trouble had a way of following me. By the time I got home, social media was blowing up. That grocery store video? Yeah, it went viral. People were already calling out Officer Green for being the walking embodiment of systemic racism. Fun times. Next thing I know, there's a knock at my door. Not the friendly Amazon delivery kind, more like the we need to talk kind. It was Jason Carter, a hotshot young attorney with a vibe like he'd just walked off the set of Suits. "Amelia Brooks?" he asked, flashing a grin that was equal parts charming and cocky. "I saw the video. I think we've got a case." "A case?" I raised an eyebrow. "What are you, my knight in shining legal armor?" "Something like that," he said, stepping inside like he already owned the place. "Look, you were wrongfully arrested, humiliated, and dragged through the mud. You want payback or not?" Damn. He had a point. I shrugged. "Fine, let's do this." Meanwhile, Officer Green wasn't taking his L quietly. Word on the street was he'd started digging into my background, probably hoping to find something, anything to justify his actions. Good luck with that, buddy. But then things got complicated. Turns out, digging into my background is like opening Pandora's box. Green found nothing at first. My records were clean. Too clean. And that's when the questions started flying. Jason called me a couple of days later, his voice practically buzzing through the phone. Amelia, you need to sit down for this. Jason, I'm already sitting. Spit it out. So, I looked into you, just to be thorough, he said. And, why are your employment records classified? My stomach dropped. Classified? What are you talking about? I mean, like government-level classified, he said. Like you don't exist before a certain date. Care to explain? I stayed quiet for a second. Long enough for Jason to get nervous. Amelia, he said, his tone serious now. What the hell is going on? Nothing you need to worry about, I said, my voice sharper than I intended. Just focus on the case. But let me tell you something. The walls were closing in. Green was sniffing around. Jason was asking questions. And I could feel my past creeping up on me like a shadow I couldn't shake. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that secrets have a nasty way of coming out. The storm was far from over. By the time we hit the courtroom, the place was buzzing. Reporters, activists, regular folks looking for drama, you name it, they were there. Officer Green strutted in like he still had a leg to stand on, but oh, sweetie, this wasn't his day. Jason was in his element. He started off calm, laying out Green's nonsense for everyone to see. No evidence, racial profiling, an ego the size of Texas. The jury was eating it up. Green, meanwhile, looked like he wanted to melt into his seat. And then came the big moment. Jason called me to the stand, cool as ice. Miss Brooks, can you tell the court about your background? I took a deep breath, locking eyes with Green. I used to work for the government. Jason leaned in. What kind of work? Counterintelligence, I said, letting the word hang in the air. I was an agent with the CIA. Boom! The room exploded. Gasps, whispers, reporters scrambling to tweet. Green's face turned the color of spoiled milk. Jason smiled like a cat who'd just caught a canary. Did you leave voluntarily? Jason asked. No, I said, my voice steady. I was forced out after uncovering corruption. They erased my records to cover their tracks. The jury looked like they'd just watched the plot twist of the century. Jason wrapped up with a mic drop closing argument about abuse of power, systemic injustice, and what happens when the wrong person gets targeted. The verdict? Green was fired. The department got slapped with a fat lawsuit, and my name became a rallying cry for accountability. As I walked out of the courtroom, reporters swarmed me, cameras flashing. But I didn't say much. Just this. This isn't about me. It's about making sure it doesn't happen to anyone else. Mic drop. Game over.